Gearboxes in nature. A gearbox is a set of gears with its casing, especially in a motor vehicle. Gearbox uses gears and gear trains to provide speed and torque conversion from a rotating power source to another device. So a gearbox, it is located at the junction point of a power shaft. The gearbox is often used to create a right angle change in direction, as is seen in rotary mower or a helicopter. Each unit is made with a specific purpose in mind, and the gear ratio used is to design to provide the level of force required. This ratio is fixed and cannot be changed once the box is constructed. The only possible modification after the fact is an adjustment that allows the shaft speed to increase, along with the corresponding reduction in torque. So, gearbox, that's a gearbox. A gearbox is a mechanical method of transferring energy from one device to another and is used to increase torque while reducing speed. Torque is the power generated through the bending or twisting of a solid material. Most modern gearboxes are used to increase torque while reducing the speed of a prime mover output shaft. This means that the output shaft of the gearbox rotates at a slower rate than the input shaft, and this reduction in speed produces a mechanical advantage, increasing torque. So, in this situation where multiple speeds are needed, a transmission with multiple gears can be used to increase torque while slowing down the output speed. The design is commonly found in automobile transmissions. The same principles can be used to create an overdrive gear that increases output speed while decreasing torque. So, gearboxes allows you to change gears in the vehicle so that the motor is used most efficiently. Natural gearboxes work along the same principles as those in cars. How? In cars, at least 4 gears are used to transmit the power from the engine to the wheels. It is possible to drive smoothly only when the gears are used in successions, from low gear to high and back again. Instead of gears in cars, which are heavy and take up a lot of room, flies have mechanisms that takes up only a few cubic millimeters. Thanks to their far more functional mechanisms, flies can beat their wings with ease. So gears were a logical continuation of the invention of wheel. That gears are called the biggest invention. After the wheel is not unthinkable. We can't live a normal day in our lives without gears. Without gears, no production, no energy, and no transport. The use of gears is also obvious that we never dwell on where they came from. So in this video, you will see the mechanical principles of gearboxes, the history of gearboxes, the organisms in nature that has a gearbox.
I'll be discussing how gears evolve in nature long before humans even invented them. So gears were a thing before humans had the idea and concept of gears, which is applied in our everyday lives. Gears are often found in automobiles, machines, and etc. So a gear system similar to those used on bicycles has been found in insects, proving that nature developed cogs long before humans. The juvenile Isus, a plant-hopping insect found in gardens across Europe, has hind leg joints with curved, cog-like strips of opposing teeth that intermesh, rotating like mechanical gears to synchronize the animal's legs when it launches into a jump. Researchers from the University of Cambridge said that their find demonstrates that the gear mechanism, which is previously thought to be pioneered by humans, has a evolutionary precedent. The gears in the Isus leg work in a similar way to those found on bicycles and in sidecar gearboxes. The gear teeth on the opposing hind legs lock together like those in car gearbox, ensuring almost complete synchronicity in leg movement. This helps with the powerful jumps that the insects use to get around. So one professor said, which is Mr. Malcolm Burrows, that said that this precise synchronization would be impossible to achieve to a nervous system, as neural impulses would take far too long for the extraordinarily tight coordination required. By developing mechanical gears, the ISOs can send nerve signal to its muscles to produce roughly the same amount of force. Then, if one leg starts to propel the jump, the gears will interlock, creating absolute synchronicity. So the concept of gears is that when one part of the machine, or in this case the ISOs, works as one part of its body works, the rotating or the gears will enable it to function as one. So the grinding of the teeth of the gears is the one that allows the movement to occur. Co-author Gregory Sutton, now at the University of Bristol, said, we usually think of gears as something that we see in human design machinery, but we found that is only because we didn't look hard enough. These gears are not designed, they are evolved, representing high speed and precision machinery evolved for the synchronization in the animal world. The gears are only found in juvenile insects and are lost as they pass into adulthood. Another odd thing about this discovery is that although there are many jumping insects like the ISOs, including ones that are even faster and better jumpers, the ISOs is apparently the only one with natural gears. Most other bugs synchronize the quick jolt of their leaping legs through friction, using bumpy and grippy surfaces to press the top of their legs together. Says Duke University biomechanics expert Steve Vogel, who was not involved in this study. Like gears, this ensures the legs move at the same rate, but without requiring a complicated interlocking mechanism. There are a lot of friction pads around, and they accomplish pretty much of the same thing. He says that, so I wonder what extra capacity these gears confer. They're rather specialized, and there are a lot of other jumpers that don't have them. So there must be some kind of advantage. So gears are not ordinary thing, or it is not simple. You may look at it as simply two round objects that are rotating with each other, or as the teeth on their edge interlocks. Basically, gears has a lot of principle that should be studied about.
I will be discussing the mechanical principles of a gearbox. But first, let us define what is a gearbox. A gearbox, also known as a transmission box, is the second element of powertrain in an automobile. It is used to change the speed and torque of a vehicle according to a variety of road and road conditions. Brief history about the gearbox. The earliest form of manual transmission is thought to have been invented by Louis-René Panhard in the late 19th century. This type of transmission offered multiple gear ratios and in most cases reversed. The gears were typically engaged by sliding them on their shafts, which required careful timing and throttle manipulation when shifting, so that the gears would be spinning at roughly the same speed when engaged. Otherwise, the teeth would refuse to mesh. These transmissions are called sliding nose transmission or sometimes clutch boxes, because of the difficulty in changing gears and the loud grinding noise that is often accompanied with it. Main functions of a gearbox. First is to provide the torque needed to move the vehicle under a variety of road and load conditions. This is done by changing the gear ratio between the engine crankshaft and the vehicle drive wheels. Second is to be shifted into reverse so that the vehicle can move backward, and lastly, be shifted into neutral for starting the engine. Main components of a gearbox. In any device, two or more components work together and fulfill the required function. In a transmission box, 4 components are required to fulfill its function. First is the counter shaft. The counter shaft is a shaft which connects with the clutch shaft directly. It contains the gear which connects it to the clutch shaft as well as to the main shaft. It may be run at the engine speed or lower than the engine speed according to the gear ratio. Next is the main shaft. It is the shaft which runs at the vehicle speed. It carries the power from the counter shaft by use of gears, and according to the gear ratio, it runs at different speed and torque compared to the counter shaft. One end of this shaft is connected with the universal shaft. Next is the gears. Gears are used to transmit power from one shaft to another. They are the most useful component of transmission box because the variation is torque of counter shaft and main shaft is dependent on the gear ratio. The gear ratio is the ratio of the driven gear to the driving gear teeth. If gear ratio is larger than 1, the main shaft revolves at lower speed than the counter shaft, and the torque of the main shaft is higher than the counter shaft. On the other hand, if the gear ratio is less than 1, the main shaft revolves at higher speed than the counter shaft, and the torque of the main shaft is lower than the counter shaft. A small car gearbox contains 4 speed gear ratios and 1 reverse gear ratio. Lastly is the bearings. Whenever there is rotary motions, the bearing is required to support the revolving part and reduce the friction. In the gearbox, both counter and main shaft are supported by the bearing. Transmissions can be categorized into 2, namely the automatic transmission and the manual transmission. The basic question is, why is transmission required in an automobile? The power generated by an engine flows through the transmission before it reaches the drive wheels. The basic function of a transmission is to control the speed and torque available to the drive wheels for different driving conditions. Manual transmission works on a simple principle of gear ratio. The automatic transmission. The automatic transmission was invented in 1921 by Alfred Horner. This is a type of motor vehicle transmission that can automatically change gear ratios as the vehicle moves, freeing the driver from having to shift gears manually. Like other transmission systems on vehicle, it allows an internal combustion engine best suited to run a relatively high rotational speed to provide a range of speed and torque outputs necessary for vehicular travel. The number of forward gear ratios is often expressed for manual transmissions as well. The working principle of a gearbox. In a gearbox, the counter shaft is matched to the clutch with the use of couple of gear. So the counter shaft is always in running condition. When the counter shaft is bring in contact with the main shaft by the use of meshing gears, the main shaft starts to rotate according to the gear ratio. When you want to change the gear ratio, you simply press the clutch pedal which disconnects the counter shaft with engine and change the gear shift lever. In a gearbox, the gear teeth and the other moving metal must not touch. They must be continuously separated by a thin film of lubricant. This prevents excessive wear and early failure. Therefore, a gearbox runs partially filled with lubricant oil.
Organisms that have parts which functions like a gearbox. The first example we have is the Gearboxes. This is a small hopping insect that uses tooth gears on its joints to precisely synchronize the kicks of its hind legs as it jumps forward. Findings published in Science magazine, Malcolm Barrows and Gregory Sutton, a pair of biologists from the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom, have been able to reveal this functioning natural gears through a combination of anatomical analysis and high-speed video capture of normal isos movement. movements. The first plant hopper species in which the function of these gears was described, designed to keep the insect's legs synchronized when it jumps. More intriguingly, the gear teeth have rounded corners at the point they mesh, a feature that engineers use in man-made gears as a shock-absorbing function to prevent the gear's teeth from breaking off. The insect's gears are used on their opposing hind legs to lock them together and synchronize movement during powerful jumps. Without the precision provided by the gears, an Isus would spin out of control. The gears, though, are found only in the insect's juvenile or nymph stages when they cast off rigid skin as they grow. Why the gears disappeared by adulthood is not known, but the researchers suspect that it may be similar to a problem that every car maker faces. If one tooth in the gearbox breaks, the whole mechanism is impaired. Perhaps the juvenile Isus can repair a broken gear tooth in one of its regenerative stages, but it would be unable to do that as an adult. The gears in the Isus hind leg bear remarkable engineering resemblance to those found on every bicycle and inside every car gearbox. Each gear tooth has a rounded corner at the point it connects to the gear strip. A feature identical to man-made gears such as bike gears, essentially a shock absorbing mechanism to stop teeth from shearing off. Another organism that seem to have as part of their anatomy same as the gearboxes is the ground pangolin. The pangolin alters its shape in order to roll. Its ability to roll powerfully and change its direction while rolling is similar to a gearbox. This ability helps them protect themselves when they are frightened or threatened. When pangolins are threatened, they can roll into an almost impregnable ball. The hummingbirds can flap their wings so fast at about 80 times per second. They can fly right, left, or up or down, backwards or even upside down. Their wings functions like a gearbox. It can be shifted into reverse so the vehicle can move backward. With this ability, hummingbirds can fly precisely under normal conditions, and it could help the organism to reduce time in calibrating its movements because it can move in any directions they want.
Other species that functions as a gearbox. Bell jelly. The bell jelly is not a true jelly but rather a hydromedusa, usually smaller than true jellies and not nearly as colorful. A bell jelly has a translucent bell and a clapper-shaped mouth stalk. Bell jellies also have 100 or more wispy tentacles and red ocelli or eye spots which are sensitive to light. Bell jellies are probably vertical migrators. They remain in dark, deep waters during the day and come to the surface at night. A bell jelly spends about half its time near the seafloor, where it feeds on small benthic or bottom-dwelling creatures. Bell jellies often hop up from the seafloor. This movement may stir up sediments, uncovering potential food. They also swim to the surface and sink back down to the seafloor, a process that lets them collect plankton as they drift. Second is the salp. A salp is a barrel-shaped planktonic tunicate. It moves by contracting, thus pumping water through its gelatinous body. Salp jet propulsions is one of the most efficient in the animal kingdom. The salp strains the pump water through its internal feeding filters, feeding on phytoplankton. Comparing this species to gearbox, it has also pumping system to propel rockets and make them move. Rockets' propulsion is like the bell jelly and salps. They can draw water from the rear and expel it from the rear. The abilities can help these species catch their prey. The third species is Bivalve. Clams, mussels, oysters, and scallops are members to the class Bivalve or Pelecyphodia. Bivalves have two shells connected by a flexible ligament, which encase and shield the soft vulnerable parts of the creature. All 15,000 known species of bivalves are aquatic in nature, with close to 80% being marine or saltwater environment animals.
Living at the bottom of the marine environment, bivalves tend to either swim, using their mantle cavity to force water movement, burrow into the sand, or attach themselves to an object with sticky strings called byssal threads. The style consists of transparent glycoprotein rod, which is continuously formed in a cilia-lined sac and extend into the stomach. The cilia rotate the rod so that it becomes wrapped in strands of mucus. As the rod slowly dissolves in the stomach, it releases digestive enzymes. Estimates of the speed of rotation of the style in vivo vary significantly, and it is unclear if the style is rotated continuously or intermittently. Some organisms use rolling as the means of locomotion. These examples do not constitute the use of a wheel, as the organism rotates as a whole rather than employing separate parts which rotate independently. The first example is a tumbleweed. Tumbleweed are the above-ground portions of a certain plants which separate from their root structure and roll in the wind to distribute their seeds. It is a structural part of the above-ground anatomy of a number of species of plants, a diaspore that, once it is mature and dry, detaches from its root or stem and tumbles away in the wind. In most such species, the tumbleweed is in effect the entire plant apart from the root system. But in other plants, a hollow fruit or an inflorescence might serve the function. Tumbleweed species occur most commonly in steppe and arid ecologies, where frequent wind and the open environment permit rolling without prohibited obstruction. Apart from its propagules, that is its seed or spores, the tissues of the tumbleweed structures are dead. Their death is functional because it is necessary for the structure to degrade gradually and fall apart so that the propagules can escape during the tumbling or germinate after the tumbleweed has gone to rest in a wet location. In the latter case, many species of tumbleweed open mechanically, releasing their seeds as they swell when they absorb water. The tumbleweed diaspore disperses propagules, but the tumbleweed strategy is not limited to the seed plants. Some species of spore-bearing cryptogams, such as Selaginella, form tumbleweeds, and some fungi that resemble puffballs dry out, break free of their attachment, and are similarly tumbled by the wind, dispersing spores as they go. There are several species of elongate organisms will form their bodies into a loop in order to roll. Example of this species is a Myriapoda. A Myriapoda is a subphylum of arthropods containing millipedes, centipedes, and others. The group contains over 6,000 species, most of which are terrestrial. Although their name suggests they have myriad or 10,000 legs, myriapods range from having up to 750 legs, the millipede, to having fewer than 10 legs. And there are other species adopt more spherical posture, primarily for defense, which may allow rolling. The armadillo girdle lizards, also known as the armadillo lizard, golden armadillo lizard, or armadillo spiny-tailed lizard, is a girdled lizard endemic to desert areas along the western coast of South Africa. In 2011, it was moved to its own genus based on molecular phylogeny, but formerly it was included in Cordyceps. These species may roll passive under the influence of gravity or wind, or actively, typically by altering their shape to generate a propulsive force.